Well, hello everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to post-match reaction. It was about an hour and a half ago, but welcome to post-match reaction here on the Rangers Rabble podcast. It's a really tricky one today because I don't want to say too much so that nobody tunes in for the rest of the season, because that wouldn't be good. But it was a meaningless game for me. If you disagree, then I'd love to hear it in the comments, or even if Trev or Kenny disagree. I'm absolutely all here for that. But it was a meaningless game in which Hearts were the better team, and we won. Tynecastle is not the easiest place to go. It really isn't. We've won, but we've struggled at Tynecastle in recent seasons. But I really don't know what direction to take the reaction in. I don't want to come across as far too negative, and I don't want to come across as far too happy that we've won. So it puts me in a position where I'm thankful that I'm the host, to be honest. And I'm joined today by Trev and Kenny. Trev, how you doing? Right, first of all, how are you?
I'm not as good as you, Mr. Morocco man, with your wee subtle tan there. I bet you wish you'd stayed over there after that pish.
No, it's too warm.
No, I'm doing all right, Martin. I said to you before, I wanted to just quickly get the negativity out of the way and then try and kind of move on to more positives. But watching that game, it was, I mean, who's the boy that get the two OGs, McGarth or something? Is that his name? McCart, aye. I mean, what a player that he was for us, by the way. I'm telling you, that says it all, really, that we win 3-1 and we're like, what? Between the two OGs, and it nearly was three OGs, and Butland, you couldn't tell. See, if you looked at that score and you didn't see the game, you'd be like, oh, that's pretty convincing. But I mean, we were so a half a yard off it, so slow, so pretty mince at all. I didn't see any tactics or any what Clement was actually trying to achieve there, despite winning 3-1. But yes, of course, it was 3-1. That is good. But because it's dead rubbers now, we're looking to be entertained. We're looking for something nice, some signs, boys, to kind of slightly cheer us up. That's the least we demand, and we're not getting it. So I will try to be positive from now on.
I mean, yeah, Kenny, how are you?
I'm all right. How's you?
Yeah, I'm here.
Look at that hair. That hair's grown in a wee treat, innit?
Let's shave it off again, Kenny.
I'll tell you now, that wasn't me that said that, Martin. That was him.
See the fact that we're doing a Rangers reaction and the first topic of conversation happens to be my hair. I think that shows you just where we are right now as a support. I mean, I know. Look, Kenny, we won at Tynecastle, right? Is there any positives at all that we can take? The fact that we've won, the fact that Nsiala played quite well again. I can't really think of anything else, Kenny.
See, at the end of the day, see if we're sitting top of the league with a trophy in the cabinet and we still finished second, and you fought against a Hearts team who's a wee bit in the ascendancy, and we won 3-1, and it was a bit of an awful game, but we won. We wouldn't have these mannerisms. As somebody put there, the hamster wheel keeps rolling on, and that's the reason we feel dejected. There was plenty of good positives in there, but we can't seem to find them because that amount of hills and valleys moments we have with this team, that we're always constantly a wee bit more demure than we should be. So there was good, bad and indifferent, exactly the same as a comment there was. It's 3 points, let's not be kidded. We separate away for 32nd more and more. I've said it once, I said it 100 times. It's a two-team league. Even if you're playing absolutely guff, between second and third, there's always about 18 points minimum and above by the time you get to the end of the season. Hearts were it's a hard place to go. It doesn't matter when you get them or how you get them, or if you're top of the league. It's always a hard place to go. So take the 3 points. I'm happy with that. There is little bits of annoyance in there, but I'm sick to death talking about them like that. So I'm just going to say, tactically, the guy's a half-wit. I don't think there was a reason not to play some of the youth at all there, because it was no problem at all. I think we were always going to win that game. Hearts weren't on it at all. We made them look very, very, very good when we were just missing 50-50 balls. So, aye, good, bad and indifferent, Martin. And I'm like you, Trev. I'm not going to keep lingering on negativity all the time because there's enough of that running about us now. So 3 points for me, that'll do.
Kenny, Martin, just to quickly jump on his point there. Aye, on you
go. Before you do, and you can jump straight back on it, Jim Sloan. I've actually missed Jim while I've been in Morocco. Right, Smile Boyd, welcome back. Thank you very much, Jim. Thank you for the support, my friend. Yeah, sorry.
Aye.
On you go.
That's a brilliant comment. You're allowed to slag someone when you give them 10 quid. I think that's just par for the course, isn't it? What you were saying there, Kenny, you should have played youngsters, right? And normally I would agree with you, right? But I think because in Clement's, I think he is a wee bit delusional at this stage. I generally do. He's drinking the old Kool-Aid, so to speak. I think he generally thinks there's still a wee tiny hair of a chance this season. I think he still thinks there's something in it. He'll still keep going. Now, you should be thinking that, but you should be giving youngsters a chance at the same time. So I think that's why I didn't give youngsters more of a chance until then, Kenny, in my opinion.
Fair enough.
Can I just say though, right? And I don't know if this is a language barrier thing for Clement. And I don't know if this is just me being a supporter who's pissed off, annoyed, frustrated, and is looking for every little thing that he says that I can pick apart and be overly negative about, right? Maybe that is the case. But Kenny, he says that, before the game, the Queen's Park results in the past and we move forward. No, it isn't. For me, right? For me, if he's even going to mention Queen's Park, right? Which for me, if I'm the manager and I'm him, and I've got any sense about me, I'm staying as far away from that conversation as I possibly can. But if he's going to mention Queen's Park, he has got to say it's still in our heads. It was an abysmal result. It's a result that we won't forget. It's not in the past. We won't forget about it. And we're going to go out in that field today or that park or that stadium or whatever you want to call it. And we're going to give absolutely everything that we've got. I don't know if it's a lost in translation thing, Kenny. But, and like I said, I don't know if I'm just trying to find negatives to pull apart everything that he says. But when he comes out with stuff like that, again, as a supporter, I go, are you just taking the piss out of us?
He's very, very silly when he opened his mouth about that, because we're all still very raw about that and we're looking to see what we're going to do today. The first 10 minutes, well, let's say the first 5, they were right on the front foot. We were all over the top of them again, but no ball in the net, no time to settle, and you knew the Rangers team just now was going to end up with chances coming against them at the other end, and you could see the nervousness creeping in. For him to almost put that there just before they go out onto the park was absolutely mind-boggling to me, and I agree with you. I think he's actually, Trev, I think he's kind of lost it a wee bit mentality-wise. I think he's actually starting to kind of unravel slightly. He knows he's on borrowed time, and if it was at any other board, guys, he's gone. He would have been gone, and they're now coming out and saying, "Oh, it's no financial." Well, you want to tell me what it is then, because his results are absolutely honking, and we keep getting these hills and valley moments where we get a few good results, and then the next minute it's horrendous. But we're not actually going anywhere. It's just plateau we've got. We've not got any ascendancy and direction and identity and anything that we can see that there's going to be a progression. I hate bringing it back up because I'm sick saying his name, but at least in the 3 years Stevie G, the first 2 that he didn't win in, you could actually see that there was little tidbits of what was coming. You were getting so much closer to your rivals. You were starting to get closer to winning trophies, and then eventually won trophy in league. So I don't, well, at least league. I don't think that as a man he should realise it's now time to hand the reins over and give us a few more, like somebody with a bit of direction for the Scottish League. I think he's misjudged the Scottish League a lot with some of the tactics that he played in games like St Mirren, Ross County, and Motherwell. And his interviews they're becoming like Ivan Golach, man. They're becoming this crazy fucking statements that everybody's going, I can't actually wait to tune in. I mean, there'll be folk tuning into his aftermath comments for comedy value alone. I'm talking St Mirren fans and all that. They'll be like, oh, let's hear what his balloon's going to say next. Surely that can't be good for the club. Surely that can't be good for the manager, and surely it's going to be good for our club, our players to listen to that if he ends up speaking like that in a kind of halftime team talk. Or can you imagine that? If that's what he's telling us as fans, what is he telling players? You're never motivating players if you're going to go in with a head full of waffle. Definitely not.
Well, shall we hear from him then? It seems like the perfect segue to bring that in. So,
I'm going to go and play with the buses.
Why did you need to bring up buses?
Traffic, any vehicle.
Come on, buses, man.
Right, so let's hear what you had to say to Rangers TV, shall we?
Philippa, a good win today for your side. What did you make of that performance? Yeah, that it was super important to react after the big disappointment of last week. What the team did, it was not our most sexy game or with the most quality sometimes, but everybody digged in, and that's the basic what needs to be every time to win these duels and to go forward and create the chances. We scored also 2 more goals, but 2 times really small offside. So we created enough today to win this game, and you saw the fighting spirit of all group.
Yeah, that spirit must have been pleasing for you, because you obviously did touch on it being a difficult week, but to even when Hearts got that goal back, that the team really did stick together and go on to get the win.
Yeah, that was the work that need to be done this week to go over the disappointment. It's easy then to stay disappointed and not react anymore. So we had a lot of meetings around that collectively, individually, and the players reacted in the right way, how it should be as a Rangers player to accept that you cannot lose these games like last week, but then to react and to react in the right way and to fight, because Hearts is a good team. They were 8 games undefeated. They have a really good home record and reputation. So to win here, it's a very important point, and it shows also the mentality that can be in the team, and it's about getting this out every game.
Can I just ask you about the performance of Jack Butland today too? It was busy for him, particularly in the first half, but he pulled off a number of really important saves again for the squad.
Yeah, but we know the qualities of Jack. He was player of the year also last season, and it's important if the bar is there to win every game. You need a really good goalkeeper. There's not one team in the world doing that without having a good goalkeeper. So we count on him in that way.
Vaslav's goal too. It was his 14th of the season, and a nice finish from him too again.
Yes, and he had a few other good moments where he could have scored. He had also a few moments that he didn't get the ball, and that we need to keep more overview. But yeah, he's showing good qualities. But I think Cyril came also in the right way, giving the energy to the team. And you see there's a collective where everybody wants to fight. Also players who are on the bench coming in, they give the energy to the team, and that we need to repeat again next week.
What can this do now for the squad? It obviously is another week now to prepare for that game next weekend.
Not to be satisfied after this, and just to kick on. The team needs to kick on. We're drilling the mentality that needs to be at Rangers in the heads for months. It's been more consistent. It's pity that this cup games falls in between, because otherwise 2025 would have been really good until now, but it was not good enough last week. So you cannot have one moment that you lower your standards, not when you're a Rangers player. So I will keep drilling this message into the heads.
Right. Okay. So where I'm going to go first with that is Gaz with a super chat channel member. Thank you very much, Gaz. Clement's presser was shocking. We were poor today. Right. I've jotted down a few things that I don't usually jot down stuff, Trev, right, for press conferences.
You took notes. Wow.
Yes, I just took notes there. I probably should have done it in the hour and a half I was waiting on used to, but I didn't, right? So talking about Clement's presser, he spoke about the players showing a reaction after last week. Did they?
No, really didn't. He's delusional. I think he is going along with this. He's looking at the score and thinking, I get away with one today. 3-1. That on paper would tell you that we were comfortable winners today. So I'm going to go along with that whole story to the press, and I've got evidence there that it's 3-1, so jobs are good. And instead of looking at the actual facts that we were gifted 2 OGs in nearly a third, and we were absolutely honking for most of the match. So we got away with one. I actually feel sorry for Hearts today. We did not deserve to win that match. We deserved at best to get a draw, probably a defeat. So he's smoking something there, man. The guy must be high. Apparently, that's all I can think.
Now, if we were in a completely different situation, Trev, right? See the sentence that you just said there, right? We wouldn't care if we were a point behind or a point ahead of Celtic. You would be sitting here going, I don't care that we were mins today. We've just won. Massive 3 points.
Yeah, you're right. That kind of situation, 100%, Martin. I would be agreeing with you. Also, the same with when you just get the 1-0 chips in name kind of situation. Those kind of scenarios, I would take, because you will get them during a season where you're going for the title. You're not going to be splendid in every single match. It's impossible, but you're trying to paper over the cracks. If you're Philip Clement, and he has so many cracks in his is all I'm saying, and it doesn't matter what he tries to do to fix it. I don't think he will until he's no longer in the building.
Right, there's good comment here, right, for Blue Nose Sparky, Kenny, right? And it's something that I want to bring up, so I want to put more attention on it, because the longer this season goes on, I kind of feel like this is going to be the scenario that we're in, right? Martin, are you lads just going to be Clement bashers for the rest of the season? This is depressing to listen to. Kenny, I completely agree that it's absolutely depressing to listen to. But I don't know what else.
Clement or us?
Clement.
Aye, see, to be fair, it's cause and effect. So we're on a podcast talking about the problems at Rangers, and a big problem that Rangers are now is a manager on the board. So we can only deal with what we're listening to. And I'm honestly fed up.
Right, sorry, I understand that. I completely get that, right? And I'm just as bad as everybody else for I don't even know if you want to call it Clement bashing, right? Just calling it, it's what we see.
Aye.
Right, I completely understand that, but see, at the same time, we've beat Hearts 3-1 when we didn't play well, and normally I get where we are, and I get we're miles behind Celtic, and I get they're probably going to go on and win another treble, pick up another Champions League place, go further ahead of us financially. See, just in terms of what we're on to talk about today, how can you be positive? And yet you've went to a hard away ground and won. Again, I don't want it to come across as no matter what Rangers do, we're just going to be negative. But it feels as if no matter what Rangers do, we're going to be negative.
We fell into that. We fell into this little bubble of negativity because of the amount of years it's happened, and then we're always quick to think, is this happening again? Is this manager doing the same? Gio, is Beale, Clement? I think we have, Martin. We've spoke about this in pods before. We as fans fell into that negativity hamster wheel, and we have. But it is a very good point somebody put up there. The OGs are due to us putting pressure on their defenders. You can't get OGs unless you're putting the other team in pressure. And any away game at Hearts is hard, even if you're sitting top of the league. So as I said at the start, I'm happy to take the 3 points because it's always a good result if you go away from home to Hearts and you win. It's just the tactical awareness of the guy is really driving me insane. I mean, even Neil McCann had said there's 4 or 5 corners in a row for Rangers, and not once have they tactically changed it to try and get some sort of penetration for that type of ball. Your 50-50 duels were always lost, right? So that's players. So if that's not working, you tactically tweak it. We didn't do that. The corners that come in, always first man are too high. That's a tactic that can be tweaked and changed. So yeah, you can say we're always bashing. It's a great result. Don't be kidded. It's a great result. And we're sitting second in the league. I think we're frustrated because there's no cups to play for apart from the one in Europe. And if we get anywhere further than that, brilliant. But domestically, we're in a mess. And there's no running away from it. No matter how, I'm sick of hearing it, sick of hearing it. I understand that. But we can only comment on what we're seeing. And it was a phenomenal result. Listen, at the end of the day, 3-1 away to home Hearts, in the place we're at, where we're kind of hills and valleys and we don't know what the team's going to do. So I'll keep repeating it. It was a great result. There was positives in it. As I said, you can only get goals if you're pressing. But tactically, there could have been a lot more done. And there was tons of times where Hearts come through us far too easy again. And that's all we're meaning as Rangers fans. Can we fix all these things? And then you look at the manager to do that. That's all we're doing. And the answers is always kind of no at the minute.
Kenny, quite glad to your you talking about tactics there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Clement was asked if he'd been what he was going to do for the Hearts game, basically set up against the Hearts team, and how they're really good at set pieces, or they're better at set pieces. He said, no, we've been looking at that, we've been training for that, blah blah blah. Have you? I mean, exactly, Kenny. The amount of times that we were up against it when a ball was whipped in or whatever, and you're just it's everyone's running about at the back, and you're like, you just said we'd been training for that. So either we have been training for it and the players are just throwing you under a bus because they don't believe in you anymore, or you're talking pish. Either of those two is not acceptable. So there is no tactics when it comes to this. This man is literally ruining these Rangers players. And I'm okay, the players need to take some blame.
Look at the goal, the header, right? So Hearts are the best in the league at scoring from set pieces, apparently, at the minute, the last 5 games over.
Yeah.
It was Diamandi that was blocking their attacker. Is it Kataguna? Something like that. And it was actually Suter that was going for the ball that was coming in. So it should have been reversed. Diamandi should never be in between the sticks in centre-back position. He should be the one watching the runner coming in.
Yep.
You know, if you're telling me now that he said he trained for that, that's absolute boys. There's no way you're trained for that. It's obviously players have basically took themselves into those positions on their own, and it's caused the central defenders to move away because those players are marked. Whereas it should be somebody in there commanding that area and saying, "Oh, you're out there, we're here, move," before the ball's even whipped in. So I think it's maybe a wee bit of both. The training ground's not really working, and the leadership amongst those set piece plays possibly could be tweaked.
How reliant, Trev? I mean, this game today, did it actually show how reliant we are on Czerny?
Yeah. We're a team that cannot afford to rely on any one individual or a couple of individuals. We can't. We're not good enough at the moment for that. Czerny is a positive for me this season, along with Egerman, and he done all right. He done better in this game than he had in recent games because he'd kind of fallen off a cliff a little bit there, but he was a bit better today. You could see he was frustrated. Some things are not going for him, and probably because of the diddies that he's playing with around him as well. He wished he was in a better team, probably. But just play Egerman in that position every week with the right players around him, and I think he will be brilliant for us. But Czerny, I would sign him at the end of the season if we could afford to, mate. I would, but I don't think we can. That's the problem. We enjoy him while we can. Generally enjoy him while we can, and then he'll be like another Seamer, just gone, and then we'll just need to get another loanee for the next season.
Yeah, and is that fair for Aaron? Had you created 2 goals? So why are you talking about Czerny, Kenny?
Sorry, I was talking about apologies of both of them, actually. I get started because they were the 2 rays of sunshine for me today. Czerny and I think Egerman done all right as well, but no, Czerny was decent. But we can't rely on one individual. We can't. We're not good enough. We need other players to be pulling their socks up, and it's not happening this season at all.
Yeah, I mean, Jack Roberts has put the channel member has put another super chat in, Kenny. And if we want to talk slightly positive, I suppose this is one route that we can go down. Hopefully that's Butland back to his best. Brilliant today, and obviously the manager spoke about that in his post match as well. I mean, look, we're just going to have to accept the fact that he's not very good with the ball at his feet. Right, fair enough. Whatever, I can deal with that, right? But he made, and again, I don't know if people watching can tell this. I am trying my very best not to go on a rant or not be angry or not be pissed off about the current situation at Rangers, and I am trying to drag positivity from wherever I can. And Butland certainly was positive today, Kenny.
Very, very, very good. Even at the time where he had the wee wobble with his feet, and he managed to rectify his mistake, and that's all you can ask. And the rest of it was just phenomenal saves, keeping the team. I always like him when he just takes a one touch and then launches the ball away for his own goal, because he's pretty good with feet at long distance. It's when he tries to play the short passes. But apart from that, he was commanding. Some of the shots he seen coming early, so he could position his body the right way. I really do think that there was positives today, Martin. There was players that done all right. I thought Hadji was fine. Hadji was trying his best to get into positions. I think if as I said, if we had a trophy in the cabinet and we were sitting second and we were winning away 3-1 to Hearts, we wouldn't be having similar conversations. I think because of the Queen's Park, him remembering us about the Queen's Park, and then after 10 minutes, nothing happening. Then we go like 1, and then they go 1-1. That's the only reason I thought we're a wee bit more negative today. But it's a good result going away for home 3-1. But I thought Butland was brilliant today, aye, definitely.
Oh, come on, Martin. Come on. Thank you very much, Jack, for the super chat, my friend. Thank you for the support. We really need it, so thank you very much. Right, so that was a positive, and I can't think of any more. So we're going to go back to the negatives. CGM, Trev has said Diamandi was honking no matter what Joshua Barry I don't know what Joshua Barry tries to tell people,
Yeah,
but Diamandi, Trev.
Yeah, I saw you start that comment. I'm glad you did, mate. I saw it coming in, and I was shaking my head at the time. I was like, no, he wasn't. I used to have a bit of respect for Joshua. I honestly thought he was one of the better guys on that show. But no, I'm sorry if you're making comments like that. He wasn't. There's very few that you can give plaudits to. Apologies. There's the Amazon delivery. I'll be right back, guys. Apologies. Carry on.
I'll just, I mean, Amazon obviously matters more. Amazon matters more than the rabble, Kenny. But yeah, look, I don't want to jump on individual players' back all the time, but we jump on Clement's back enough, so the players deserve to get it when they've been poor. And again, I'm not some tactical genius. It's maybe seeing that Diamandi's taking up this position so that this player can do X, Y, and he's playing the ball here so that play. I don't know all that. All I can see is from my very as knowledgeable as I possibly can watching football.
Yeah,
Diamandi done nothing.
Nah, he was a lost shirt, wasn't he? We moan enough about Barami, the poor guy, so you've got to hang the ones out that hide, and he hid today. He wasn't even strong in the ball. There was one that was a 50-50, and it was a shoulder to shoulder, and he hit the deck. It wasn't even a challenge, and then he's looking at the ref for a free kick, and they broke, and that was one of the ones where their striker, who if he was more clinical today, I think there would have been a different scoreline there, their front play, because they played a good few balls to him 1-on-1, and one was because Diamandi had basically took a hit the ground, looked at the ref for a free kick, and they were right up into our box. If he was just a little bit more strong in the ball, he could have retained the passing up the higher end of the park and maybe turned it into something. So I don't know if that's age, maybe a naivety about him. He's still learning, but we're putting him under a lot of pressure as a player first team coming out of Dream Academy because of the money we spent on him. So it's a bit unfair on him as well, but it is what it is. You're in the first team, you've got to perform. I think there's a couple of players hiding. I think the pressure's showing as well that in Scotland, especially Celtic and Rangers, you've got to win every game. And I think a lot of the players are struggling with that, the amount of pressure there is every game, especially if a team scores 1-1. You know, if we're up 1-0 like that, they kind of feel it. So testament to them for coming back and trying to win the game. But Diamandi was hiding.
Do you know what? I'm going to be brutally honest. And I mean brutally honest.
You told me to be positive. You stay that way. No, I mean, you can't be hypocritical. I'm trying my best here.
No, I never ever believed, right? Before I started doing podcasts and all that, and I got, because I've never been into social media in my life, right? I've never liked it. I mean, if anybody who is on my Facebook, see, before I started the podcast, you can look through my Facebook, and it's literally one post a year if you're lucky, maybe, right? So I've just always, and doing these podcasts, people put in comments and it can sway your opinion because you go, I never thought of that. I never thought about it like that. And it expands your thoughts and your horizons on what you're watching.
Yep.
I've never believed this, the shirt's too heavy. A player comes here and they can't deal with, he's got to win every game and this and this and this. But over the last 3 years, Kenny, I'm starting to think that that's true. Because I can't explain how a Ben Davies, for example, right? And it's not as if he's going down into league. Is it League One? Birmingham are in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the players in League One are so much worse than the players at Aberdeen or Dundee or whatever, right? That's just not true. There are probably some better players in League One than what we've got in the SPFL, right? So I cannot explain how Ben Davies goes from being okay at us. I don't think he was as bad as what a lot of folk were making him out, right? But okay, fans didn't take him, to Birmingham putting out pictures of brick walls and saying this is our Ben Davies, and Scott Wright going down there and playing fairly well, and Kieran Dill going down and put performances on. So there has to be something to it, Kenny.
Yeah, you can't have 2, 3, 4, 5 players over the course of about a year or two going down and starting to do really, really well. I think it's all to do with the relief. You will never get the pressure on the clubs, the type of clubs that you get here, your Birminghams and all that, your Blackburns, all these type of players, clubs, because they can afford to lose 2 or 3. They're all happy if you get into playoff places to try and get up into the leagues, and never mind finishing in the first 2 down there. We have got such a high standard, the two clubs up here, that some players actually can't cope with it. They think, woof, even all the way back to interviews with Barry Ferguson, when you're listening to him or reading some of the books of players like that, they say it's like a goldfish bowl. Look at Derek McInnes. He didn't even want to take the Rangers job because he knew the scrutiny that was coming with it a few years back. So it's a shame. It's a shame. It either makes you or breaks you. But listen, it all comes down. Remember you were speaking about this, Martin, about the scouting network at Rangers as well. There's maybe a problem. What are we doing with that? Because you've got to look at the players that fit into the league.
Do you know what? That's a perfect point, right? And Trev, I was actually going to mention this before Kenny mentioned that, right? So I'm not taking Kenny's point here, because people are going to come straight back at me for saying that and go, well, how can Celtic do it? How can Celtic go out and find players that come into our league that settle pretty quickly and can do the business? Is there a correlation there, Trev, between the fact that, albeit they've done okay in Europe this season, but generally they're crap in Europe, right? And generally we're crap in the SPL, but we're decent in Europe. So is there a correlation there between the players that we're bringing in? They're actually bringing in players who are all right, get pumped in Europe, but they win the league. We bring in players, don't do well in the league, but do well in Europe.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're kind of doing what we were doing in the 90s. We were maybe not that great in Europe. We tried to crack that formula of doing well domestically and in Europe, and we know it's a very hard nut to crack that one there. But they remind me of us in the 90s. We're very dominant domestically, but not the best in Europe. And to be fair, as much as I hate to say it, Martin, that lot are just better run. That's why they can go out and find these players. They probably get better scouting networks as well to go out and find these players and bring them in. And by the way, I need to add as well that I did still hear your comment as I put myself on mute to go and answer the door, Martin. What he's not telling you people is I told him before that I was going to go and have to answer that door. So just some new contents for the loft, some new accessories. That's all I'm going to say.
And Jim Sloan actually has come back in with another super chat. Kenny, 4-4-2, Scottish football, no need to overthink. Diamond, false nines, XGs, 4-2-3-1, push. It's Scottish football.
100%, Martin. Let's just keep this simple and all. Yes. At the end of the day, two up front, smother the midfield, wing backs helping the defenders. Do we really need the continental touch and all this overthinking and putting players that are meant to be number 9s out in the left wing and all this carry on? No, I think the guy's bang on. Just 4-4-2. Don't be wrong. Every comment on these pods I've been on and us speaking and all the different people speaking over the days and the afternoon rabbles, it always gets round to folks saying, can we not just try a 4-4-2 to see how it happens and how it works, haven't we? So maybe somebody that knows the league better would do that with players who were scouted better to come in and do it with them. And we might have some sort of maybe core starting to develop with trust between who we're buying, who's managing them, and simple tactics. Maybe a plan.
Sack Clement, bring in Mike Bassett. You can't beat writing your team down in the back of a fag packet. That's all I'm saying. I think we've lost that in Scottish football. Right, Aldo channel member. Trevor, take this one to you. Thank you, Aldo, for the support as well, my friend. Sorry, guys, you need to get into the real world with McCann. I played against him at schools and he's not changed since then. He took a blue pound and he will always be a little rat. Well, I think that's pretty harsh, to be honest, Aldo.
Why?
One of the best wingers I've ever seen in person at Ibrox, to be brutally honest with you. However, Trev, what I will say is before the game he was talking, and I get it, right? He works for Sky, he's got to talk the game up. But saying this is a big game for Clement and Rangers really need the win, he was trying to big it up as if we're all just sat back going, well, if we win, cool, we're happy with Clement again. It's just not going to happen.
I got a lot of time for McCann, I do, and I'm sorry, all due respect, Aldo, I value your comments here, but in this one I have to disagree. I like McCann. He was one of the last kind of proper run up to the line kind of wingers whipping in the cross that I remember actually. McCann
for me he was world class, by the way.
He was underrated as well. He was absolutely phenomenal, and you could tell he kind of fell in love with the club despite his leanings beforehand. Martin, you just made the point a moment ago that he is paid by Sky. Although saying that, I usually most of the time find he does talk some sense. I remember when he was talking, it was the COVID season onwards when he was Rangers TV, and you would get him and one other on. Usually, he talks a lot of sense. The guy, most of the time, for me, I think he's a good pundit, a good reviewer of the game. I would like to see him with some kind of coaching capacity with a club, but at the end of the day, he is paid by Sky, so he might say some things that we won't like, and we just need to put up with that. Nothing we can do.
Right, okay. This is, I wouldn't imagine these reactions in the league especially. They might, but I wouldn't imagine that they're going to run into the hour and 10 minutes that they did. Because if they did, then that means that we're probably just repeating stuff that we've already spoke about, to be brutally honest. But I will bring this up for CGM, Kenny, because I totally agree. A good manager would have given Rice minutes the day after he threw him under a bus with his comments this week. Clement will destroy the boy. I am very, and again, and I want to make this completely clear because I've tried to change the way that I post on socials, right? I try not to always give an opinion. I post opinions from other people, a wee picture. People can get in the comments, do they agree, do they disagree, right? So anything that I say that's got a point is my opinion and my opinion only. I think he was bang out of order, Kenny, what you said about Bailey Rice not being productive enough, not passing forward enough, and especially with the hindsight of how that second half went when he wasn't on the park. I think he was completely out of order. To throw Finlay Curtis on with a minute to go, to throw the boy Fernandez on with a minute to go, and to not give Bailey Rice any minutes for me, that just cements in my head that it was already cemented, but it further cements in my head that man has got to go. Because listen, I could go on a rant all day about this, right? Bailey Rice could turn out not to be the player that I think, and many other people think that he could end up turning out to be. He might not be good enough, Kenny, right? The same way any young player. But throwing him under a bus and then not playing him and giving players a minute here and there are certainly not going to be good enough.
I'm not saying that Bailey Rice is ever going to be your answer, I agree with you. But what I will say is there's a talent there. You can see with every touch he takes. However, in the game he's specifically talking about, you have to pass to somebody who's wanting the ball, and there has to be options in the area where he's going to pass to. The guy's no blind. In that specific game you're talking about, there was no movement. We were all speaking about it. There was no movement off the ball. So it wouldn't matter if you had Dynamo in there. He couldn't have found a pass at that time. As regards to throwing a young boy like that under a bus, I think there's a player there. If Dick Abacat took the exact same theory as Clement does with Bailey Rice, then we would never have saw Barry Ferguson be a captain of Rangers. It was just very, very lucky that he'd done a good few things very quickly, very good that he liked. But also, let's go to the Curtis boy. That was a game to play him today, because that side of the park was fine. You could have easily played him in there and pushed FD up into the left wing or anything like that at all to boost that side of the park. So I agree with you. I think, I'm not saying they're the answer, but there was definitely moments there you could have played them in there and changed it. And as you're right, Martin, how the hell are you going to get this guy up a level unless you throw him into these situations where he learns? You don't learn by talking and giving him 2 and 3 minutes. You only learn by getting in there and giving him 20 minutes to half an hour in a predicament like that. It was disgusting for me because the boy's only young. See, if you think there was something wrong, you don't talk to the press that way. Remember Steven Gerrard said that at the end of the day, there was no media training for any of the players when he came into the club. So he had to educate them on how, and I think this has a lot to do with Walter Smith. Remember he said he had a great Walter Smith connection. He used to talk him through all aspects of the non-football game as opposed to managerial just itself. And I think Stephen had passed that on to some of the players and the captains and how you express yourself to the media so that you can build a strong bond in the dressing room, so that therefore you're not throwing your players under a bus, even though you might absolutely hate what a player had done. You do that as an individual circumstance where you take them to the side and you tell them what's expected and you grow them as people. You don't just open up like that and blah, 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 blah over to the press. The press is not your friend. So I think Clement's getting it really, really wrong with the media in Britain as well, very, very badly. I think he's not got any etiquette about him or what he says and how he says it. And I think Rice, hopefully because he's a wee Scottish boy, just takes it like that and just goes, oh, whatever. I doubt it. But for me, Curtis should have got a wee few minutes just to see him anyway. You know, Bailey Rice, fair enough, but Curtis should have got a few minutes.
Do you think Clement understands, Trev? And this isn't a dig, by the way, right? But do you think Clement understands the difference between mainstream media and fan media? Because see, back in the day, or especially when Clement was brought up, and I would imagine they've got it in Belgium, right? I get that. They've probably got it. And clubs in Belgium probably make it easier for fan media than what some clubs in Scotland do, right? Wink, wink, dig, dig, right? But do you think when he's speaking to like a David Edgar or a Stevie Clifford, he actually realises that the supporters are honing in on what they say, not what they say, but what they report back from the manager, and the nonsense that he comes out with. It's not then going to a paper to get reworded for sensationalism, and people read it and go, "Oh well, it's just a paper. I don't really care what they say." But it's actually being fed directly from fan media to us.
No, I don't think he properly does. That's yet another thing, Martin, that he doesn't really have a clue about, to be honest with you. I'm glad we've got fan media. I'm glad that we've got proper Rangers fans in there asking the questions that we want to. Like the other last week when Davy Edgar and whatnot were asking the hard-hitting questions. That must be so tough to ask those questions in a way that gets your point across, but it's not purposely saying, by the way, we are raging, get it right, Rooney, and get out of this club immediately, as much as he was probably tempted to say that. So good on you, Davy, for actually wording the way you worded it. And a couple of people asked him questions like that. I thought he would snap a little bit more than he actually did, to be fair. But no, I don't think he gets it at all. But let's add it to the list, Martin, of things he's not really getting. And also just the point you made quickly before with Kenny throwing youngsters under the bus, Curtis, I was disgusted by that as well. I'm thinking just to throw young players like that under the bus and not give them more of a chance, then that just says everything about the man. So I'm trying to find more positive here. But
Trev, he could have quite easily have came out after that, Trev, right? And when I took Rice off at half time because I could see the way the game was going and I didn't want it to affect his confidence going forward in case X happened. That's all he has to say, Trev. I mean, that's it. No, oh, by the way, he didn't make enough forward passes. When has he ever said that about Diamande or Raskin or Lawrence? When has he ever said that about any of them?
Yeah, Martin, he doesn't do himself any favours with some of the things he doesn't do or doesn't say. He could make his life a little bit easier by coming out and explaining things sometimes, because, okay, we don't know how this head of his works, right? I mean, we think he's bloody doolally at the best of time anyway, but if you can try and explain to us in a logical way why you do some of the things you do, then we maybe go, all right, I see what you're thinking. Don't agree with it, but I see what you're thinking. But no, he doesn't do himself any favours, man.
No, he really doesn't. He really doesn't. Right, okay, we'll finish on a positive, Kenny. And this is for the two of you, Kenny. I'll start with you. Just give me your overall assessment of the positives we can take away from today.
Butland. I say Hadji, probably. I would say, well, three shots.
Do we need to start having a conversation about Eggman?
Maybe just for a second. I think three shots and then in target and stuff like that. So I'm not going to say. What I'm going to say is it's 3 points away for him, away to Hearts. We went 1-1 and we dug out a win. That's the positives.
Trev?
Yeah, no, Butland. I'll go with that first and foremost. Yes, we know he's not perfect. I think we're just going to have to put up with these kind of couple of flaws in his game and realise that if he is a good goalkeeper for the most part, and maybe we should actually try and, as a team, as a defence, try to support his weaknesses a wee bit better. That's what a good gaffer would probably do. A good goalkeeping coach would probably do. Everyone's got their weakness. Use the rest of the team to actually help his weakness, and it won't be as bad. I think. I don't know. We don't need to have a conversation yet, Martin, about Eggman. He was better the day without being brilliant. And when you've got guff around you, there's only so much you can do. He was trying some of the things he had in the past and they weren't quite working for him. So, the goalie would be the only positive I can think of today, because he never put youngsters on for long enough for us to talk about. So,
and Ciala, Trev?
Ciala is slowly but surely plugging away. he is usually a safe pair of safe pair of hands. He is usually a safe player, and I actually rate the guy. I don't want to rave about him too much, mate, because I fear I jinx it and he gets thrown under the bloody bus at his Rangers at the moment. He is brilliant at passing the ball. Wow. Like, that guy can find a pass across the pitch and no bother, which blows my mind considering how young and raw he still is. Still Butland for me today. Ensella wasn't bad, but it's Butland for me only.
Martin, can I also say...
Should Hearts have had a penalty though, Kenny?
See, just before we go on that, see what we were saying about Igaman's age, right? And he's young and he's raw and he's emotional when he's control of the things and stuff like that. It's no coincidence if you look at the geographic on it and the time on it of all this Everton talk. I mean, this was like 4 and 5 tabloids. This is real talk. We don't know what's happened to his agents and all the rest of it. If you look at the timeline for when he started wobbling compared to before that, he was completely focused. He was away on his own game. He was starting to score. It's no coincidence for me because of his age. He's went off the boil slightly because of all the media and the publicity about him moving and going to the Premier League and all the rest of it. Do you know what I mean? So I just wanted to say that because that might be why he's kind of wobbled slightly. I think he will come back right better than ever. I just think it's this little bit now for him. But penalty-wise, nah, I've seen it given. But I thought it would have been harsh if it was given. Especially, and I'm surprised it wasn't given with the kind of refereeing scenario was at the minute. So, but a bit harsh for me if it was given, Martin, to be fair with you.
Not going to speak. There I spoke once I came off mute. Just finishing up on that, Trev, just on the NCL incident with a possible penalty. When you watch it back, 2 hands on the back, if that was at the other end, would you be screaming for it?
I've got to.
Or was that a bit of a dive?
It was a wee bit of a dive. I would say if it was another side of the park, I'm the one who's like, you know, the purposeful blue tinted specs on all the time. I try if something happens for us and it shouldn't have, I'll call it out. I'll always call it out and be fair and reasonable and try my best to sit in the fence. It wasn't. It's a contact sport at the end of the day, Martin. So there's got to be a little bit of kind of physical activity allowed, a wee bit of a push. It's then getting into what is too much pressure, too much of a push before you then start giving away the penalty. So no, it's never a pen for me. I
mean, Alexander Marshall, lads, if we didn't lose last week, we would have been more positive today. Absolutely, we would have. Yeah. We get beat off Queen's Park, who then get beat at home off Hamilton. So, yeah. So, no, this was, even if we won 5-0 today, and Igaman had scored 3 and Dessers had scored 2 or whatever, it still wouldn't have been a massively positive post-match reaction. And here's hoping that Clement can somehow again turn this around. I don't see it. I don't know how. Unless Celtic magically start losing games, I don't see how that any of this turns around. And we'll see what happens in Europe. But look, we'll leave it there today, folks. For members, we are back tonight at 8 or 8:30. I'm sure it's 8 for the SPFL show. And then I'm back tomorrow with the afternoon rabble for members and the Monday night rabble as well. And the EPL show's on tomorrow night.
Yes.
So there we go. Right. So, folks, please do like, share, and subscribe if you're on the old YouTube. That would be greatly appreciated. And make sure you follow us across all the socials. And if you want, and you're in a position to do so, then do consider joining us as a member to help support the show and help us grow. Kenny, Trev, thank you very much. Thank you for all the super chats, all the comments, all the reaction. Thank you to all the people who listen back on the audio downloads as well. People on Facebook, people on Twitter, everybody. Thank you very much. And we'll all speak very, very soon.